Hello and welcome to episode 32 of Talking Shit About. I'm Elizabeth, and this month we're going to talk about erotica. Personally, fuck Valentine's Day, but if you're into Valentine's Day, then consider this your Valentine's Day episode. This show comes out the first Friday of each month, and I bring on a guest to talk about something they love, something they hate, and hopefully by the end we've all learned something. I hope you enjoy, and let's go ahead and talk some shit.
I was like, what the fuck does that mean? I have friends that are firefighters and I know that they use soap.
And she was screaming at me over soup.
Fuck this, I am not ever talking to a Scientologist again. These people are all insane.
I'm putting my bricks in the dumpsters, motherfuckers. Do you see me, bitches? I'm throwing my bricks. And he's just like chucking bricks.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Talking Shit About. We're here today with Ruan Willow, and we're going to talk about erotica, which is something that's actually pretty foreign to me. I'm from a Irish Catholic background, so we got a lot of repression going on there. So I'm really excited to dive into this and have Ruan with us here today. So Ruan, welcome. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me. I'm doing really well. How are you?
I'm good. Like I said, I'm excited to get into this. So, for anyone who's sort of unfamiliar, has not read any, what is erotica and what kind of stories and themes should people expect from that genre?
Well, basically, erotica is a romance story that includes the sexual interaction between the characters. So it's a form of romance fiction, and there's different levels, and there's a kind of a gradient with erotica. You're going to find smut, which people call smut, which is more like almost like a narrative of what you'd find maybe on most porn sites, like that wouldn't have an actual storyline. So the more you are towards smut, the less storyline you have, and the more action of the actual sexual intercourse or, sexual action that happens. And then you go to erotica, which is maybe a little bit more story. And then you go all the way up to erotic romance, which is going to have more romance and more story in it. And I've written across all three different areas, and there's a lot of different subgenres in erotica. So basically, when you're going to read something or listen to an audiobook that is erotica, you can expect some sort of sex on some level, whether that be oral or the full thing. And you're going to find different gradients of how much authors include in that. But that's kind of a way to think about it. But there is like so many subgenres out there of erotica. I mean, it's kind of mind blowing how you got everything from fantasy and sci-fi up to realistic, up to, alternative lifestyles where people are swinging or multiple partner. There's so many different genres out there for erotica.
And by the way, listeners, Ruan Willow is a podcaster and writer. So, Ruan, could you tell us a little bit about your story and how you got into the genre?
Absolutely. I have always been a writer all my life. I've written fiction. I write in multiple different genres. Erotica is just one of them. And in around 2016, I got really serious about writing romance. And under my real name, I published at the publisher for a YA romance, a young adult romance novel. And I really, really just felt it was important, in my opinion, to include sex in the relationship of the romance, because in real life, sex is a part of romance. It's a part of the relationship. And so I felt like it was missing something. And so I really wanted to start to write romance that included the actual sex. I felt like it was lacking when it doesn't have it. In fact, I'm to the point now where I don't even want to read a romance if they don't actually include, if the author doesn't actually include sex. Because to me, it's like leaving a big giant piece of the relationship out of the story, because sex is a part of the story of the relationship. So I started writing erotica, and it's just really grown into I write erotica, I write erotic romance, I do audiobooks. I also narrate for myself and for other erotica authors, and I've done a few non-erotica books as well. And then I have the podcast, which is Oh Fuck Yeah with Ruan Willow, where I talk about all different types of sexuality. Basically, kind of how I divide it is Tuesdays are some sort of erotic fiction story. And then Fridays are my guests who come on and talk about sex, sexuality, helping people explore their sexuality, open up. And I just do all different areas. I don't narrow it down to anything, just somehow it's related to sex. And then I'm also a blogger and influencer.
That's awesome. Just like all over the place. In like a good way. Do you find that there's any like specific themes that you usually write about or cover?
I guess some authors do tend to niche down, but I cannot do that. My sexuality is very broad. I have lots of different aspects to it, and I can't really ignore parts of it. So I end up writing across the board. I mean, I've written everything from heterosexual to lesbian, woman, love, and woman stories. I usually do HEA though, which is in romance terms, that's happily ever after. So even in erotica, I do happily ever after. And so I write erotic rom-com and dom sub, power exchange, orgasm control, and alternative lifestyles. I do light BDSM. I don't tend to do the really heavy stuff. I do more like playful. I really like the erotic rom-com genre. I think that's really fun to have some comedy in there with the sex and with the romance and with the story. That's probably one of my favorite areas to write in.
That is a good idea. I don't know. Because like sometimes sex is funny. Sometimes funny stuff
Mhm.
happens during sex, and
Yes.
yeah, why not?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can go so many different places with that because, you can go deeper into that's what I like about it too. It's got this giant gradient when you're writing erotic rom-com because you can go into something funny, which is light-hearted, right? Or you can go into something really deep, which is love or romance or intimacy, connection. You can go this giant gradient when you're doing erotic rom-com.
Is there like a story that you've written that you're really proud of or that really stands out to you? Sort of
Yeah,
like
I've kind
the
of
big
written
one.
all across the board. Like I've done really super kinky, raunchy, naughty stuff. Like my neighborhood sex secrets. That one's pretty intense. That kind of blows people away when they read that one. But then you go to my the sex challenge series, which is a couple that is doing this a day of play, and they are trying to challenge each other all these different places throughout the whole entire series takes over a Saturday. And so they're doing different challenges and they're trying to make each other climax all day long. So it's all these different challenges and fun games that they do. So that is more like, I would say that's almost like, that's a heterosexual one. That's something that people who are not really hardcore into erotica probably will be more comfortable with than my neighborhood sex secrets because that's really very hardcore, very she's exploring her sexuality. She's doing all these taboo things. So I like to kind of dabble in all of those areas. The latest area I'm going into is the whole hot wife genre. I'm also narrating a series for the erotica author Lacey Cross, which is a hot wife series. So I'm starting to enjoy that. I think that's kind of a fun way to explore sexuality. That's a great thing about erotica. I think it's a way for people to explore their sexuality alone or with a partner in a kind of a more safe way where they're not like put on the spot. Like, say you want to bring up an idea to your partner, but you don't want to be like, hey, do you want to try this? You could read a book together or listen to the audiobook, and then you could be like, hey, what did you think about that? Rather than putting them on the spot. Hey, do you want to do this with me? It's a great way for foreplay as well. So erotica is just, it's a great tool for people.
What sort of reactions do you get from people when you tell them what you do?
Well, I don't tell a whole lot of people who know who I am in real life what I do. I have told a few people. Some people are very judgmental. I happen to live in the Midwest, which is a little bit more prudish on the average, but there are a lot of people who aren't prudish here. But, there's a large cultural prudishness here. So I don't tell a whole lot of people because I also write under my real name and not erotica. But the people I have told, some have been very supportive, others have not. Others have been like, "Oh, that's weird." I even had a couple of friends that I told, and they're like, "Oh, I might like erotica, but I can't read it if I know you're the author, because that's kind of crosses a line for them." And I totally get that. But, you know, so I don't like enjoy telling a lot of people because of how a lot of people are about sexuality in our culture. A lot of people are closed off, they're judgmental, they're not very open. So they're not, a lot of people are not real open to topics of sexuality in general, let alone, erotica that's been written for the purpose of exploring sexuality.
Do you remember the first time or like the first book that you read something specifically erotica and was like drawn to it? Did you have like kind of like an aha moment at any point?
Well, I guess for me it was the big draw of thinking that I didn't feel like the romance books that I was writing or reading were realistic because they didn't have sex. I can't really say it's a specific theory, but it was more like I just felt like it wasn't realistic. I mean, if you're not going to include sex in a romance story, to me, it's just like a shell. It's just like a partial story. You're only getting a piece of this couple. And to me, that's just fake and false. And I don't know. It's just not thorough enough for me. I feel like there's an interaction that happens and you learn a lot about people and their sexuality and in their sexual relations. And so characters can really explore their you can really have character development in a sex scene because it's just so intimate and there's just different aspects that you can bring in that you can't do when you don't include sex. So I don't know if there's really necessarily a story or a book that really was pivotal for me. It was more like my own feeling like this just isn't enough. It's not the full story.
So the people who do read erotica and are interested in it, how do they tend to receive your work?
I definitely have fans. I have people who, it's nice to see reviews on your work. So I definitely have reviews on, you know, you're not going to ever please everyone. So that's something you have to realize if you're going to be a content creator, even a podcaster, you're going to have to realize you're not going to please everyone all the time. So you kind of have to accept that. But I have many people who love my work and they love my books. And that's really rewarding for me to have people enjoy it, seek out my books, and want to engage with my work. It's a huge compliment and it's wonderful.
And what do they usually say about it that they like about it?
A lot of people like how I write it so that they feel like they're a part of it, like they're in the scene, like they're feeling they're there. It puts them in the moment. That's one big thing I hear from people. A lot of people just like my varied erotic brain. Like I write so many different things and in doing this whole podcasting thing too, I've become so non-judgmental, which is just wonderful to me. I wasn't judgmental to begin with, but the difference between now and before I started the podcast, I'm even less judgmental now. And it's a wonderful way to be, to not feel like we have to judge people because of what they like sexually or what they're into. It's just, I don't know. It's really changed my life.
That's wonderful. Love it. I'm so excited to like listen to it. I'm definitely going to start listening.
I have a lot of different things and I go a lot of different places. So
Love that. And you're so right about not pleasing everybody.
Mhm.
It's totally true. Are there any, again, here comes the word themes, styles, or tropes in stories in the genre of erotica that you find over and over again or that you just can't stand?
Well, there are some things that are kind of popular. Like right now, I feel like there's a lot of hot wife erotica out there, and that's a really big one. People are really getting into though, like the sci-fi and fantasy erotica, which is, obviously involving sci-fi or fantasy werewolves, vampires, aliens, that kind of stuff. And the fun thing about that area of erotica is you can go so many different places because these beings have different abilities, right? So they may have different amount of appendages. I mean, there's just so many different things you can do if their body is shaped different. Their abilities are different. So that's fun. There's a few topics that I don't really like, and they tend to be the ones that like others don't like Amazon will ban. Like they don't want anything to do with the scat or, I don't know if they accept golden showers. I don't really get into the whole golden showers thing. So that is some kind of erotica I would probably not read. And the whole incest thing, I'm really not into that either. I think maybe, some of the step stuff is okay if it's kind of new. But if you grew up with that person as your step parent, to me, that kind of erotica is just kind of like any
Yeah.
kind of like parent figure. Um, I mean, I get it if it's like a new situation. Maybe you could that could be I could understand that, but the whole incest thing doesn't really turn me on. I don't particularly enjoy reading that type of erotica. Um, let's see what else turns me off. Oh, extreme BDSM. I mean, I don't mind a little bit of playful stuff, but if something's like really severe, like I don't like that. Like when it's almost like torture, like that doesn't turn me on. So I don't seek out that kind of erotica.
So I have not read or seen 50 Shades of Grey, but is 50 Shades of Grey considered erotica?
Yeah, it is. And that one I actually have not seen or read myself because I heard so many authors say how horribly it was written. It's just terrible. And it's also misrepresentative of the actual themes of it's kind of a mixed bag because on one hand, it's great that that particular book brought to the forefront of the mainstream different types of sexuality and BDSM and dom sub relationships and different things. So I think in that way it was a valuable thing. But the problem is, and I haven't seen it, I've just heard this and I've talked to many people who have engaged with that, either watching the movie or reading the book. It is not accurate of how it really is because there really is no true consent there. There is actual abuse. So in the real world of the way it's supposed to be with BDSM and alternative lifestyles, that kind of stuff, it's supposed to be full consent. And apparently in that story or that movie, there isn't full consent. So then that falls into the category of abuse. So it's a mixed bag. It brought all this stuff to the forefront, but yet it actually portrays it inaccurately. So it's a bit good, a bit harmful at the same time.
So this episode will air a little less than 2 weeks before Valentine's Day. Do
Mm.
you have any recommended reading, whether it's a gift for your partner or a gift for yourself?
Well, I just finished narrating a hot wife book about Valentine's Day, which is live in December. So that is obviously fun if anybody wants to explore the hot wife topics. By then I think we'll have 4 of the books out. We're doing one per month. So right now we have those 2 out. That one is the one just released was Valentine's Day. Then we'll release one in December and one in January and then another in February. So, and that is written by Lacey Cross. And so she hired me as a narrator to narrate that with In My Hands Audio, which is a male voiceover actor who is from Canada. And he's got his own podcast too. He's got an amazingly sexy voice, just out of the park. So it's been really fun to create these audiobooks using his voice mixed in with mine. And so I master the audiobooks. So that's definitely a good one. And for me, I guess right now it's December and I'm releasing Taste of Victory, which is book 6 of 6 novellas from the Sex Challenge series. And that's my erotic rom-com series. So that one will be out, obviously. And then I'm Serving the Trash Man, My Filthy Hot Wife Adventures. That's a series that I'm working on right now, which is about hot wife interactions with the workmen that come to their house. So those are the things I have going on right now. And Yeah, I have a lot of books out there, so definitely check me out.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of your personal favorites that you've read?
From other erotica authors.
Yeah, from other authors.
I do enjoy Lacey Cross. That's the one I'm narrating for right now. A really unusual one that some people don't know about is Amber Collins is an author who writes size erotica, which is the growth and shrinking of people. And it's very interesting. And so it's basically sci-fi fantasy erotica. And I've narrated a fair amount of books for her as well. And it's quite interesting. You know, people grow to be giants, and these people are having sex as well. So they might shrink, they might grow. So it's a very interesting fetish that people have, and it's something that not everybody knows about. It's but it's quite a fetish. There are entire websites out there devoted to it. Let's see, what else can I say? I don't know. Always have things on my podcast. I'm always creating erotica there as well. I don't know what I'm going to write next. That's the next thing I need to figure out which direction I'm going to go in. I have several series started that I need to continue on. I guess I just need to pick which one I want to do. That's the hard part because I want to do them all at the same time. I tend to not have writer's block. I have the opposite problem. I have too many things I want to do. And so I just, it gets to be kind of crazy, and trying to mix in writing erotica with the audiobooks because the audiobooks take so much more time to process. You'll record something and it'll take you 2 to 4 hours for every hour that you record. So that tells you how long it takes to actually create an audiobook. So you might record something and it might take you an entire week of work just to finish editing it. So that's the biggest challenge with audiobooks is the editing and preparing it for sale.
Yeah, absolutely. Like podcasting, it's like, oh,
Yep.
chatted, for 30 minutes and then like 5 hours later, I'm still on the
Yes.
computer. Yeah.
Oh, I so know it. And I've gotten faster and I use different programs to help me. But yeah, it's arduous, isn't it? It's just an arduous process to edit audio.
Yeah. There are people now that use AI to edit their podcasts,
Yep.
which I'm not
Mhm.
surprised. So this episode comes out right after our AI episode. Is the realm of erotica dealing with AI invading the space? Because I know some other like art spaces and like children's books on Amazon, for example, are being like written by AI. Have you noticed that at all?
I haven't, but I've heard of a few authors who have been very upset that, someone just, copied them or used their name and created things. I haven't seen it too much in erotica, but I have seen it with other authors. And yeah, that's very disturbing. To me, it's like kind of seems like cheating, right? It's like you're copying someone and you're taking their voice and then you're claiming that you created it when all you really did was use a program. It just seems like cheating. Not cool. Not cool, in my opinion. That's not an artist. If you're doing that, you are not an artist. You are not a writer. You are not a creator. You're just a user. And I'm all fine with AI in certain ways, but if you're gonna take AI and write a book and pretend like you wrote it, I just think you're kind of a piece of shit. You're just like a fake. You're a fake. You're a total fake. You're not even doing it. You're just using technology to create something that other people create from their brains. And I don't think it's a bad tool. Like I even have used it to help me create, like, say, a summary or a blog post about, and I don't think it's bad in that way. But if you're using it and pretending like you wrote a book, that to me is just really low and slimy, and you're a cheat. You're not a real author. You're not a real artist. You're just using technology to create something that other people create, from their brain, from their heart.
Plus, I can't imagine it would read the same as
Yeah.
like written by an actual human.
I know. And to me, if I knew a book was written by an AI, I wouldn't even want to read it. I'd be like, screw that. I'd rather read one from a human, created by a human. So to me, that's it. I think it has its place in helping people as a tool create content, but not for writing books or writing that's I don't know. Like I said, I think that's cheating. I think that's low. I think that's just you're not creative if you're using a program to write a book. That's not your brain.
But your brain has written a lot.
Yes, it has.
So, for our listeners, can you do a recap of what you have available out there for them to consume?
Yes, I have definitely quite a wide range of books. I have the erotic rom-com series, which is the Sex Challenge series, and I have the Mardi Gras Unmasking, which is a dom sub story. It's kind of a little, I don't know, it's a fun little mystery story. And I have the book where it's Magic in Her Kisses, it's called, and it's a age gap story. It's a woman loving woman story. It's the professor and the student have an affair, and then it turns into an erotic romance, and they fall in love. Let's see. I have so many different ones. It's so hard. Neighborhood Sex Secrets, which is a longer novel. It is a woman who goes through a divorce and she has a sexual liberation, and she does all this different exploration of her sexuality, including many taboo topics. So that is a longer book that I have. And I have the Hot Wife series that I just started. And I have some other things on there. The Licking Sip Coffee Shop is a very unusual story. That's a lot of voyeurism and exhibitionism in that story. A Dressing Room Dom, which is another woman loving woman story that I'm going to be narrating with an OnlyFans star who is an older woman. She's a MILF, and she's going to be narrating. Her name is Ray Richmond, and she's made quite a splash in the world. And she's going to be narrating one of the female parts along with me in that book. I have Never Say, Never Swing, which is a swinging lifestyle book, which I have 3 other voices in that. I have 2 male podcasters narrated the 2 male parts, and then Ray Richmond is actually doing other female part, and then also me. And then I have my Ruins Getaway series. I have Ruins Cabin Getaway and Ruins Beach Getaway, which I narrated with 2 podcasters as well. They're voice actors. And I have to write the 3rd book in that series. I haven't done that yet. I have Skinny Dipping at a Pond on a Hot Summer Day. That's a series I started that I need to get back into. I've only done the 1st book on that one. That's 2 people that just randomly meet up at a swimming hole in the wilderness, and they end up having sex. They have a hookup. But the story is going to go on into a romance where they actually start to date after they've done that. So that's to me is interesting. I call that a backward romance because they had sex first at a random hookup, and then they're going to start to date. So then they're going to start to learn who they are. That's an interesting way to have a storyline go. So I'm trying to remember what else I have. I know I have more books, but I'm
I will put a link in the show notes
awesome.
to your link tree so people can access it. And then you have your podcast as well. And will you
Yep.
remind us it's Oh Fuck Yeah?
Yep.
Is
Oh,
that
fuck
it?
yeah, with Ruan Willow. And it's on all the podcast apps. It's also on PodNation TV channel, which is on Roku TV and Fire TV devices. So people can watch my episodes there in view on demand. And also they do a streaming. And then I'm also on the Full Swap radio network. My podcast is there as well. So my podcast is in multiple different places. It's all about sexuality, erotica fiction. I have multiple people on there. I have doctors, I have therapists, psychologists, professors, erotica authors, people who are personalities, people who are OnlyFans stars. I have all these different people on there talking about sexuality, dominatrixes, all these different people that have different perspectives on sex and sexuality. So those are my Friday podcast episodes. And then Tuesdays are my erotica fiction podcasts.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show and telling us all about the genre and giving us your opinion on AI, which again, I really appreciate.
Oh, yeah. Thanks
Um,
for having me. It was really fun.
that's a wrap for this month's episode. We'll be back again in March. And if you noticed, this podcast is ad-free. And if you're hearing ads, it's not me, it's whatever platform you're using. The show I do for fun, so if you want to support it, you can share it with people. You can give it a rating. You can download episodes as they come out, subscribe. You can also shoot me an email at kelizabeth.pod@gmail.com if you want to offer feedback or request to be a guest on the show or even just suggest a topic. So, like I said, I hope you enjoyed this month's episode and we'll be back again in March. Stay safe.